All right. Now here's a real interesting topic. How about religion? Oh man, I don't know really what you're getting yourself into once you start something like that. That's just so vast. And before I even get into my personal views on something like that, I'm just going to say right off the bat, there's many different types of religions. There's many different types of races, of people. So that can be that can tie into so many different deep, theological uh, viewpoints and terminologies and all that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna kind of stay away from all that, and I'm just gonna be kind of uh, just kind of generalize, outline a little bit of a few of my thoughts. Just use a few of my thoughts instead of just get into anything really deep, something that more the general public can understand. And with that, I could start by I don't know, just pull something out of my hat. Something I seen just the other day. I have another channel, a video channel, just a kind of a personal one where I'll leave some comments every once in a while. Um, I'll get a little pissed off sometimes, and sometimes not. But it's not really a flame over Jesus or Satan or who's good and who's evil and all that type of stuff. Um, I think I would probably focus more on the God thing. Um, uh, not even really disbelieving or believing. Not even that really. It's just the whole God thing, pretty much. I give you just one example of a guy um, before I talk a little bit more about that. Because this guy, he's even if you go on the channel where I'm posting this video, or I will be posting this video, there's a comment I made to a guy, and I think he's some kind of a religious person. I'm looking at his username on another screen over here, and I don't really want to say his username. You figure it out yourself. I'm not attacking anybody or whatever. I'm just going to tell you what he said, and a comment that he made in a short little video. It's about the Oklahoma tornadoes. Where is God? And all this, and I've heard this kind of stuff before, coming from religious people or priests, religious people, whatever. People who are more involved actively, in the religious field, priests or ministers or evangelists or whatever. And I'm not attacking them directly either. I'll just tell you what I heard in the video, and I've heard this before. And looking over here on the other screen, and it says, and there's just one point in the video where he says, God's will is to bless us out of suffering. And I've heard that before. I know a lot of people right away are going to be like, yeah, he's right, and that tells us, God's got a plan for you and your life, and sometimes, bad things lead to good things and all that, because there's a greater divine plan and all that. And that maybe so, but I kind of will cut to the chase with something like that always. I've been a little bit more, I look at stuff a little bit more logically, kind of like I've always went by the Star Trek analogy, for anybody who's seen anything like that. I'm not really huge on any of that stuff, but you know how if you ever seen an old episode, the old Captain Kirk, William Shatner, um, the guy who's I can't hear you over the sound of how great I am or whatever kind of thing, with Captain Kirk, you know, uh, and their approach, Spock and Kirk, or Kirk and Spock. Um, what happened, when they were beamed down to a planet, or have you ever seen any of those old episodes where, the evil tar creature, can't remember the name of it, some kind of an evil entity living in this tar pit or something, and it's just an example of how they talk to each other when they went down to the planet. Spock would be like, so what are the probabilities, of this being this kind of entity, Kirk? And Kirk would be like, well, we should look at this from this kind of perspective. Spock be like, yeah, and that sounds logical, and this logical perspective kind of a thing, and I think there's certain minds that are like that, and they see stuff from a really logical perspective like that, instead of getting so deep into the theologian, this and that, and what Jesus did, and what Satan did this, and whatever else, and put him in a boxing ring and put gloves on him, and little depictions, WWF depictions or whatever. I mean, it just goes off the handle, but where am I going with this? I'm just saying, there was another episode, where it was, they didn't know if it was God or not, and he was messing with the spaceship, and finally there was this big illusion that appeared in front of him, and it was the face of God, and they weren't really sure, is this really God, or is this like the Wizard of Oz? Is it just some guy back there with a couple joysticks, and buttons, and is this just all just some kind of an illusion because God doesn't want you to get near to it, not even he or she, get near to him. You ever say him, whatever. But yeah, well, that's one way you can look at God, I suppose. And certain people have to use that to be able to keep their grip on it all, and to explain to other people, and I suppose that may be like an analogy or whatever. And I'm trying point like how I'm trying to get across. So yeah. Is this? What are the probabilities, Captain, that this is really not God? And Kirk's like, maybe we should see what's behind the curtain over there, kind of a thing. So, basically, my whole point, if I were to, again, as I've said in my other videos, summarize, try to give you the big picture of where I'm going at here, with the God's will is to bless us out of suffering statement, that I've heard many times, is, well, let me just give you my response, and then I'll get back to that. My response was, if you go to the video, or in my channel, you'll probably see the response. This is what I had to say to that. I'll just read it off here because I can't remember exactly. I said, personally, no offense, but I think statements like that are warped sounding, regardless if there might be truth to it. This is that it's God's will to bless us out of suffering. And yeah, I think that's warped sounding. And I say, if that's how God truly works, though, then so be it. Okay? But I still think it's twisted sounding. And I truly do. I think it's twisted sounding. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, when you take a logical approach to that, it's God's will to bless us out of suffering. Who wouldn't think that that's kind of warped, right? You wouldn't say, "Oh, great, suffering," something better's coming my way. I mean, that just kind of sucks. And I continued there with suffering is cruel. Period. People shouldn't have to go through it to be blessed. That's awful. But if it's a necessary evil, God feels, this is what he needs to do to really justify this situation, is send down tornadoes to wipe out a whole town because they're, here we go, and he mentions sin, because of sin. But there again, basic sin, as I said again, is in man's instinctive nature. I mean, it's gonna happen. Why does a guy have a dick? According to women, why does he think with his dick and not his brain? Maybe because he's evil, Maybe because he's a sinner, He's a sinner because he thinks with his dick instead of his brain. I mean, does that make him evil? Or does that, we have to send down tornadoes because this guy is just like always horny or whatever? Maybe there was 10 people in that community who were, just really horny or something. It's just, that's fucking stupid. I wouldn't even want to be a religious person saying things like that. It's God's will to bless us out of suffering. I mean, come on, man. Like I said, if it's a necessary evil according to God, my last line was, there must be a damn good reason for God to allow that to happen. There must have been a damn good reason for some child to be standing out there looking at this carnage like it went through a blender, just black and churned and ash and just, these shards that are so small, it just looked like this blended up. There's these certain areas that I've seen in tornadoes where it's black and churned and like just pieces, just like almost to the nano, like particles of wood and glass and metal and stone and whatever, and this kid standing in the middle of it going, "Mommy, Mommy," But it's God's will to bless us out of suffering. I mean, like I said, that again, going back to what my first statement to the guy was, that is completely warped sounding. It really does sound warped. And there was even another person, a day or two before that, I seen something similar. A person talking about your name not being written in the book of life, and they're kind of with this kind of condescending demeanor. They say to you, "Oh, I wouldn't like to be you, I wouldn't like to be you, when God passes the judgment, I wouldn't like to be you, pal, I wouldn't like to be you," as if they're so confident that their name is written in the book of life. They're just completely confident, that these people over here are going to burn, and these people over here, were the person who was talking, I'm gonna be over there for sure. I wouldn't like to be you, pal. You know, I sure wouldn't like to be you. So you better get on your knees. You know, and it's always like that. You know, get on your knees. You know, we'll have to break your kneecaps if you don't, or you're going to hell. You know, we're gonna bust your kneecaps. You know, before you, if you don't believe in God, we're gonna bless you out of suffering. You know, we're gonna, you better believe, pal. Whack! Hit your knees. Get down there. You know, is that is that the kind of God we're talking about here? All right, Kirk and Spock. You know, Spock. What are the probabilities, Captain, that this creature might not really be God, but he might be some evil wizard hiding behind a curtain with a joystick, or a evil tar thing coming up, to devour, you and bless you, you know, just cover you in tar and you know, peel some of your skin off and and you'll be blessed. I mean, that's just completely warped. I mean, what more can you say? It's just this condescending nature that you see in religion, and that's probably the thing that most annoys me about religion. It isn't, what Jesus did or what the devil did or what the devil's gonna do or how Jesus is gonna make you get on your knees in the end, because of what everybody did, or whatever, and this is all gonna be played out because there's no way around it, I mean, there's so many different aspects when we're talking about the Christian, probably the Christian religion here the most. I wouldn't even say Christian. I mean, I think this guy was Catholic, as Anglican something or other. I don't know. It seems Catholic, and the guy was wearing the black suit with the little white thing here. I don't even know what that's called, but like a Catholic type priest. And that's different from an evangelist or Christian, mainstream Christian, the hallelujah types. Oh, kind of speaking in a different language or whatever. So I guess they're different types, and everybody right there, you can see even in the biblical sense, the Holy Bible sense, there's so many different factions of that. It's like, factions of fighters in the military. They're all fighting for different causes, and the ones that are gonna win are the ones who can make these people over here all get on their knees and say, okay, we surrender, start waving the flag, and we got to drop, I don't know how many bombs and do whatever else to, make them believe like we believe, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's what governments do. I suppose maybe they have, or I'm not going to say the U.S. government has ever done anything like that. I don't really want to get into that kind of stuff. That just gets a little too deep. And coming up in around 20 minutes here. Not sure what else to say except for the fact that that's the kind of stuff that perturbs me the most about religion. What I've been talking about. It isn't really this or that. I think it's kind of more the God thing. But I will end this by saying one thing. Whether it's how people are blessed by God through suffering, or they're not going to be written in the book of life because they're these completely bad people or whatever. Basic general sin is in man's nature. I mean, it's an instinctive thing, kind of in a way, in a lot of different ways, and and it ties into survival, and what some kind of people will do, what people will do, for many different reasons, not just greed, hunger, lust. I mean, people will do things, crazy things for that kind of stuff, and they will do that kind of stuff. But last final thing would be, nobody in their right mind. I mean, nobody. You could ask them in the end, on their knees or whatever. Ask them, do you want to go to hell, pal? So this depiction that we all know, do you want to burn? Do you want to go there? Is this what you really want? Kind of a thing. Down on your knees, and anybody in their right mind, put a gun to their head or whatever, religious gun, analogically speaking, not a literal one, of course, but if it ever came to either or, ask them, do you really want to go there? And anyone on the whole freaking planet, ask them, is that where you want, what do you, and nobody really in their right mind would tell you, yeah, that's what I want, I really want to go there, unless they're either out of their mind, or they're suicidal, or they really just don't care about life anymore, and and they say, yeah, I want to go to hell, send me to hell, send me to hell right now, God, whatever, I mean, who in their right mind? So that is where the buck stops. That's the bottom line. That's where it ends, right there. Take all the shit, all the bullshit, all the rhetoric, all the stories, everything, add it all up, sum it all up into one big picture, and it's you standing on your knees, begging at the end. What they say, like, the wicked people or whatever. I'm not going to name any names, but there was a guy who's one of those Satanist types his whole life, but more, that's more just it's just heavy into this religion, and this guy he looked at it more like a business. It was more like, I wouldn't have made all this money all these years if it wasn't for the Christian church or whatever. I think some people know who I'm talking about. And they look at it like that. And in that guy's, he's laying there dying. He had something wrong with him, and and he's got a priest in the room praying for him. This guy has lived a life of darkness, and and sin and evil and all these rituals or whatever, and who knows what the guy maybe did. Who knows? You never know, because the guy was like around 70 years old or whatever, but the priest is in the room, and he's his final breath or whatever, he's and he's like, what have I done? And everybody, it's just shocking, so shocking to everybody, and it's a public thing, this spectacle, and everybody knows. Oh, you know what he said? You know what he said? Everybody knew who he was. Oh, you know what he said? He said, oh, what have I done? Oh, God. I mean, there you go. You'd be laying there dying, broken kneecaps, whatever, down on your knee. What are you going to do? You're going to say, oh, yeah, oh, I'm ready for hell. I'm ready for hell now. Take me. I mean, that's the bottom line. all the rhetoric, all the stories. I'm giving you the bottom line. I'm telling you, religion, there it is. All of it. All the stories. You got the, the Nordics, you had the Asatru, Thor and Odin, and Odin was God, and Thor was his son, just like in the Bible, God over here who nobody ever see, and if you see him, you'll be dead like that, because it's like the sun, and if you get close to it, you're gonna melt, and you could never even dream of getting close to it, or knowing no one can know the name and no one can see the face of God. And I'm not mocking, I'm not blaspheming, anything like that. It's just, I'm just saying, it's all analogically kind of the same. The Germans had the diatribe, and if you really go deep into the religion, I don't want to go any deeper than that. You go really back all the way, you'll see that with a lot of cultures, a lot of societies, they had basic sets of morals and standards that they lived by. You gotta have them. Thou shalt not steal and kill and rape and all this other stuff. You gotta have it. If you don't have it, then the community or the society falls apart. So, the Nordics had it, the Vikings with the Asatru and all that, and pagans and druids or whatever, and yeah, sure, they started sacrificing people because they thought they were going to get power and blah, blah, blah. Where does it end? It ends with what I was just saying, in the end, when you're laying there, you're down on your knees, like the Holy Bible says, every knee shall bow. When you're there, and you're gonna be there, otherwise you're gonna get your knees broke until you get there. I don't know. That's what it makes it sound like, right? Every knee shall bow. Get down. Like a security cop, you're talking to God right now. Some people look at it like that. Maybe it means bow in another way, analogically. Maybe it meant this, maybe it meant that, maybe it was an analogy that you're going to bow in your mind, not literally, not physically. Everybody's gonna bow, to the awesome words, that the prophets and God sent, and all that. And that's the bottom line. So whether your name is not written in there or whether it is, it's like, I guess it'll be like the shocking truth. Oh no, my name's not written in there. That would suck, I suppose, for anybody, even like the worst dick, oh shit, now what? Like the What Dreams May Come movie, where all the people are up to their neck, and this guy's looking for his lover, he's trying to bring her back because she went insane because of her, she couldn't cope or whatever, and he had to, and all these bad things. She had an affair on him when they were married, and now it's time to burn, or he's going to get her. Well, she wasn't burned. They weren't burned, and they were just like buried up to their necks in mud or whatever, And then I suppose on their way there, there was like a lake of fire and all that when they were going across the water, to find her. So you have different circles or different areas down there, where these people, according to old religious texts, the sin that people, commit, the adulterers and the thieves and the this and that and the other thing. But that could come back to what I was saying earlier too. It's in man's instinctive nature. I mean, look at those kind of things. They're in man's instinctive nature. I mean, if you look at the society, look at the way the society has developed. How's the economy? Is this guy gonna go and steal because the economy is bad? Is this guy over here gonna deal drugs because the economy is really bad? What are these people gonna turn to, when their economy is bad? And then they're gonna be put in the 6th or 7th circle of hell over here because they were these thieves who were living in a society that were an economy that just sucked. I mean, do things like that even make sense? Do priests and religious people ever? I mean, there must be some people that really think about that. Does the Pope think about that when he's riding around in his big bulletproof caravan like something out of Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston, like Madonna up there on the carrying her with the big headdress, those big headdresses, with all the jewels and big scepter, with the big gold scepter with the cross and all that. Oh, here comes the Pope. Oh, it's the Pope. I want his autograph. The Holy of Holies. He spent all his time being flogged in the back room, for decades. Hasn't had any sex, hasn't done anything. You gotta say that. But, I mean, it's just, I seen a documentary on a couple of hookers, called Meet the Fockins. Their last name, they were like living in Amsterdam. They were Dutch, these 2 Dutch women, and just I'll just tell you basically, I mean, they were saying they would have rabbis and priests and people stopping by to see them, and they were like prostitutes and hookers and all that. So I mean, like I said again, there you go. It's in man's nature. I mean, what are they gonna do? They're thinking with their dick instead of their brain, and then it leads them to sin. And oh no, I'm going to the 6th circle. It's just all this shit. It's really fucking stupid sometimes. If you just summarized it all and look at it, just look at the big picture and all of these angles. And I know I've just kind of been like that. I can see these different angles like that with this stuff, and it's just, when it all comes around, it just doesn't, most of it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense, Like they say, there's so many different contradictions in religious texts. I don't even want to name any in particular. I don't even want to say the Bible, because I don't want to be cursed or whatever, I'm just saying. People find contradictions, and then what are they supposed to do when the religion also says, when they go to a priest and they say, well, what can I do because I found all these contradictions, and the priest says, you're not supposed to question God. First of all, let's get something clear here. We are told not to question God. So the guy's like lost. Just lost. Just completely lost. So, yeah. This guy, God's will is to bless us out of suffering. I mean, what? when you hear that, some people with a logical mind are automatically going to be like, oh, that's warped. It's warped. They think it sounds warped. Maybe it's the society that they grew up in. Maybe if we look at that, maybe if we look at how a society has developed. How did Sweden develop? How did Germany develop? How did the Middle East develop? Were there lots of religious people over here with really strong morals over here? And over here there wasn't really any because they didn't care? Because they were more worried about survival? Instead of all this rhetoric? I mean, look at the old documentaries, docudramas on Vikings or whatever. I mean, they didn't care much about it. It was more about, what kind of metal they needed for their swords, or how they were gonna feed everybody in the village, and stuff like that. It wasn't, and even in really holy areas, or even really impoverished areas. I mean, pick an area, and if that person is really starving, and you've probably heard this before, you have a Bible in one hand and a bowl of soup in the other, and the person is starving, which one are they going to take? Most of the time they're going to reach for the soup. But, and then there's always the analogy that a priest might give you, or, a overly religious person might give you, like, well, is he starving for wisdom? Or is he starving in the literal sense? What is it, my son? Is he starving for knowledge and wisdom? Because the word tells us that that's greater than gold, and greater than any ruby or diamond could ever imagine. But it doesn't discount the fact that this poor sap over here is still starving to death, and he wants the bowl of soup. I don't know. I guess that's just another aspect. So, before I get too far out of hand here, looks like I'm coming up on about 40 minutes here almost. I think I'll just end it by saying, in response to that guy or anybody who wants to say that, it's God's will to bless us out of suffering, I'm going to say again that suffering is cruel. Period. No matter what kind it is. I don't care what kind of suffering it is. It seems cruel. Maybe, like I said, it's a necessary. If it's a necessary evil, and God really just deems it, to be just, He's going to move His joystick over there and hit the button. And that's it. So, there are, of course, other aspects to those tornadoes, moving the tornadoes, I mean, people think, people have been playing God, like, this adds a whole nother dimension to it. And I'll probably end right after I say this here by, the technology. I mean, they're punching holes in the ionosphere with these HARP devices, and they can move a storm cloud. You have journalists out there, arguing, saying, "Oh, no, you can't. Yes, you can." He's a conspiracy theorist. Oh, this quack over here, this crazy guy over here, he says you can move a storm cloud. So this guy's a conspiracy theorist, and this guy over here says, you can move a storm cloud, or you can't move a storm cloud, and this guy says, you can, and he's a conspiracy theorist. It's just back and forth. But the reality is anything is possible. It's a binary universe. Face it. You can move a storm cloud. They've done it with HAARP. You know, it's controllable. This planet is controllable. What do you think it is? You know, for those people who don't get it, it's not something magical. You know, that is controlled. I don't know. I'm going to say controlled by God. People are playing God. This HAARP, you know, can send up millions of watts of electricity up there into the atmosphere through the ionosphere, beaming it up with this fields full of electrical satellite frequency whatevers up there. Where's that cloud, you know, with their joystick, you know, looking at it. And when they find that cloud, they lock onto it, you know, like you see in the movies or whatever. There it is. Let's move it. Let's move it over to here, and, you know, we'll create a tornado because they're bad people, and, you know, there's lots of sinners in that community. I mean, there's a really warped angle, right? Who knows? You know? Maybe some of that stuff's always been here. Nah, that's that whole alien stuff, you know. I don't know. I wouldn't really get into all that, but I'm just saying, you know, if you want to look at the political or economical ramifications of using something like HAARP to move a storm cloud, here's my thoughts on that. you could like you'd be like selling rain to the highest bidder. Isn't that crazy? That's just nuts. Think about it. It's like, okay, here comes a storm cloud, and it's going to rain on Greece, and it's going to help their olive, their green, and their what do you call those? It's going to help their olives grow, you know. And here comes the storm cloud, and HAARP intercepting it. You know, Greece didn't pay their bills. You know, this goes to the highest bidder. We're sorry. You know, move that storm cloud over to Africa. You know, or they went to the highest bidder. They paid their bills. Greece don't get any rain. You know, not today, not this week or next month. Well, what about our olives? You know, get a loan from the central banks or whatever. You know that. I don't even want to get into all that. Bilderberg and Rothschild and the HBC scandal and all that other. That's a whole nother level of economic nightmares. But, you know, I guess man is playing God, you know, with the heart. It's you may think it sounds crazy. I know some people probably think that sounds crazy. But the technology's there. They can do it, you know. I mean, this stuff goes way back. I mean, they've researched this stuff. They got, you know, if they're splitting tomatoes with fish, there's a whole nother video there. So, I don't know. The whole religious thing, it gets me going. And I'm gonna end it right now, and I'm just gonna say one last thing. I'm just gonna say the last thing I want to do is get into it about religion. I'm just giving you a few of my thoughts. I don't want to get into it. There's so many different aspects to religion. Couple examples, just here I go again. Couple examples. You know, the Sabbath day is holy. You know, God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. But if you look it up online, you know, the seventh day is really Saturday because Sunday is the first day of the week. And, you know, I mean, no, it's not. Sunday is because Monday is the first day of the week. Hey, did you look that up on dictionary.com? Well, what does Webster's have to say about that? No, Webster's, they're involved with the globalists and they're evil and they're just saying that Saturday is the seventh day, but God said that Sunday was, but so Sunday is, and but wait a minute, is Sunday really Saturday? And wait, maybe I've been wrong all along, and it's like a monkey wrench in the gears. you know It's crazy. Even the name of Jesus. I don't want to make a bunch of religious videos, so I guess I'll take a couple more minutes to say something about that. I might as well go an hour here. What the heck? I don't even know who's gonna watch this anyways. But let's look at the names. Let's look at the name Jesus. Jesus. It's blatantly Spanish. I mean, Jesus Martinez. What was he? Was he like the captain of the Mexican Navy or something? Some ship out there? I'm pretty sure. I mean, are you soccer players? It's Latin. It's South American. It's Spanish. And if you look in history, you get the Spanish Inquisition, and they were involved with the Catholic Church and the Pope, and and all that, and they had the scrolls, that came from the Middle East, and I mean, some of that stuff was translated in a certain way. This guy over here is saying, well, that's not the real name because the real name is Yeshua or Yahweh, from the Hebrew. And if you translate that properly, Yeshua, into, Greek or English from there, what do you got? It's how it sounds. Yeshua, Joshua. Yeshua, Joshua. There it is. Now, where did Jesus come from? Where did Jesus come from? That's how the Spanish say it. Jesus. Do people think about this stuff? These are things that really need to be focused on first and foremost, primarily. And people will say, no. It's universal. And any name. It's Allah. It's Odin. It's, according to most, English or American, I mean, it sounds Spanish to me. It sounds Latin to me. Jesus. And that's why you see, some guys out there like, some guy on a soccer team or whatever, and you're like, oh, Jesus plays soccer? I didn't know that. So there you go, that's another aspect to religion. The seventh day, or the name of God's Son, It's and really devoutly religious people will tell you it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Just focus more on having a personal relationship, with your Savior, and don't ask why. And here's your ticket for the boat, and get on there and just shut up. Don't ask why. Just get on the boat and have faith, and that's the whole test. Go, be on your way. Shut up. Just get out of here. I'm going to go back to my prayer session. And, Satan. Shaitan. Where's that found? On a cave wall in ancient Persia. ancient Sumeria, um, what is now known as the Middle East area. I believe Iraq, Persia, somewhere in there. Found on a cave wall, apparently. You know, the bull and the horns. You know, the bull. It was on a wall. It was a bull, horns, and it said Shaitan. And there you go. And this it lines up perfectly with the Spanish Jesus, you know, Jesus, and how they were involved with the Inquisition and the Catholic Church. Right there. Where do you see a bull? Where do you see uh, a bull with horns? Spain. Oh, remember the bullfighting? You know, Toro, Toro. You know, holding up the red. El Diablo ring a bell. You know, it all fits together. You know, the bull in the cave, and they got the scrolls, and it was found on the wall, and the Spanish, and El Diablo, and you know, and the running of the, you know, and let's put that in the book. You know, legend. You know, like the movie. You know, the guy with the giant. You know, and all that. Not the entertainment, the Western world. They adopt that, you know, and it gets integrated into there, you know, like Santa Claus was a market figure from the early, you know, 1900s for Coca-Cola, and all of a sudden, you know, he's the guy who comes down the chimney to bring the presents, you know, when he was really just a marketing guy. And you know, the real Saint Nick was some guy over there. And you know, historically, you could look this stuff up. You know, you know, there was something where there was lots of street reveling going on, and I don't know, was it Germany, was it, or something? I think it was Germany or somewhere over there, different places, maybe Amsterdam, where those hookers are. Who knows? Somewhere over there, anyways. You know, it was that whole holiday came from that day. From, you know, they would get naked and run in the streets and revel and you know, commit lewd acts. You know, and then all of a sudden we're giving each other gifts and celebrating, you know, and you know, we make it into a good thing, obviously, you know. I mean, that's been the American way, really. Well, you know, we'll take something that's really twisted and warped and bad, and we'll turn it into a better thing. And when you grow up, you don't. As you grow up, you don't really know all those things. They're not told to you. They're just things that are kind of used to keep society and things in control. My throat's dry. They're just tools. What was I saying? Keep things in control. Yeah, you know. I mean, otherwise, what would Christmas be? You know, what would Santa would be? Naked, overweight white men with long white beards running through the streets. You know, wanted to do lewd things, and that's pretty warped. But, anyways, yeah, you know, you gotta have some kind of control. You know, there's got to be. And then, you know, that's all going on till this day. You know, entertainment. That's what they use, you know. Stan Lee was great for the whole superhero thing, you know. You know, Spider-Man and the Hulk and Superman and Thor and Captain America and the rest of them, you know. They were, there comes that name Thor again. They were perfect for all that Hollywood stuff, It's good for. It's kind of weird how it came around. At the same time, there was like um, lots of military movements going on over there, Afghanistan and all that, and you've seen a lot of gladiator movies coming out around then. I remember lots and lots of gladiator movies, and all this is just. He's starting to sound like a conspiracy theorist now. Come on. They do that stuff. I mean, how many gladiator movies were, just go back and look when they started to invade. There were tons. I mean, it's a good motivator. All these superheroes, that got these powers, and we got these powers. Now we're going to go kick the enemy's ass. There's got to be an enemy. Kick that enemy's ass. There's always got to be an enemy. Who's the enemy? Who's the boogeyman? Who's the boogeyman now? We got, and you probably heard this stuff before, just parroting it, some of this. Who's the boogeyman now? It was, this guy over here in the Middle East, and it was this guy over here that was living in a cave, and they came from the cave, and they somehow penetrated the strongest military defense grid and intelligence people on the planet, and got into these planes, and did all this stuff, but they came from these caves over here. And I heard that one. I was just like, I never really even thought of it like that. I was just like, okay, wait. So I don't know how they really live, but it just seemed really weird. They were just like, how do these guys that live in these... I don't know whether they really live in caves, but... I don't know. I'm getting off into political stuff. This is getting pretty crazy. I think I'll just end it right here. In this religious diatribe, rant, whatever you want to call it. Almost around an hour. So there it is. If you have any kind of comments you want to make, feel free to do so. I'm not going to argue with you about anything. I'm not going to debate with you about anything. These are just some of the thoughts that I have, like I said, for people who are religious, like I said before, if you even make it to the end of this video and you listen to this last thing I'm going to say here, I'm not trying to be condescending towards your God or your religion or you, or demeaning sounding or whatever. These are just kind of thoughts, and if you can help me improve that, and anyways, that would be nice of you, because I'm not sure how else I could really put most of it. It's tough because it's really deep, and there's so many other aspects to it. I find that in the Holy Bible, I've read through it, and I find that in the midsection there and the Proverbs area, there are a lot of wise things in there. And it's kind of like the German dieta, they had something like that too. I can't remember what it was, like the calf and the bull, or the cow, or something. I don't know. They use different animals and stuff for different analogies, and there were analogies and riddles and stuff. Don't get me started on the riddle thing. They're just stories and analogies, but Proverbs, it had a lot of wise sayings in it, to help keep those basic morals and standards going in your society and all that. And I think that's what people need most, are just a basic sets of morals and standards to live by, without all the rest. I'm not going to call it all rhetoric. Some of those stories, they they do have meaning. I'm not going to get deep into that stuff. You know, uh, Ezekiel and Daniel and Revelation and all that. That's some place that I don't go.